For centuries, a single consistent rule has governed global finance. When the drums of war start beating, investors bury their wealth in physical gold. But when the United States recently issued a strict military ultimatum to Iran, pushing the region to the absolute brink of conflict, every historical model dictated that gold prices should have rocketed upward as panic set in. This chart tracks the sudden reversal. At the exact moment the war ultimatum is issued, gold prices abruptly plunge 11%, dropping to near $4,600 an ounce, marking its sharpest monthly decline since 2008. Meanwhile, the US dollar, the very fiat currency gold is meant to protect against, actually surged in value. The gold market failed exactly when it was supposed to function, creating a structural breakdown known as the safe haven inversion. To understand why gold broke, we have to look at the primary threat of the conflict, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Blocking this choke point jeopardizes the energy logistics of the entire planet. The threat alone pushed global oil prices past $100 a barrel. High oil costs quickly translated into rising domestic inflation fears, affecting everything from manufacturing to household goods. Rising inflation forced the Federal Reserve to pivot, abandoning any immediate plans to cut interest rates in favor of maintaining high borrowing costs. These high rates restrict the money supply, fueling a surge in the value of the US dollar. This created a war penalty for gold. Because gold generates no yield or interest, holding it becomes a liability when the US dollar is heavy and profitable. Simultaneously, financial institutions faced margin calls in other volatile sectors. To find immediate cash, they began to liquidate their gold reserves. Ultimately, the war threat concentrated the global rush for safety into the US dollar, leaving gold as an overlooked liability during a liquidity crunch. The market conditions shifted again just 2 hours before the strike deadline, when President Trump announced a sudden 2-week ceasefire. Accepting a 10-point de-escalation plan instantly evaporated the extreme risk premium that had paralyzed global trade for weeks. Political pressure immediately shifted toward Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve, with new demands to cut interest rates now that the military crisis was paused. As the threat to the Strait of Hormuz vanished, global oil prices began to plunge. With energy prices dropping, the inflation threat subsided, putting Federal Reserve rate cuts back on the immediate agenda. This renewed prospect of lower rates caused the US dollar to drop to a 1-month low. This candlestick chart shows the God candle effect. Uncaged from the strong dollar, gold prices exploded upward by 2%, breaking through the $4,800 resistance line in a matter of hours. This 11th-hour geopolitical pivot salvaged the markets, creating one of the sharpest V-shaped recoveries in recent history. These shifts reveal the mechanics of a modern, hyper-financialized global system. Today, gold no longer serves as a direct hedge against physical war or regional violence. This inverse correlation chart defines gold's true modern function. It is a mathematical hedge against the strength of the US dollar. The cycle is clear. The war threat pumped the dollar and crushed gold. The peace ceasefire dumped the dollar and saved gold. Modern investors now find that Federal Reserve policy and inflation metrics are more predictive of market movement than actual military deployments. The safe haven has evolved. The direction of interest rates now determines market survival more than the reality of physical conflict.